All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to wait about 30 seconds to let people log on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the DSCSA Enhanced Lot-Based Reports webinar. Today, we are going to review the upcoming enhancements to loss-based reporting on Cardinal Health's web portals. Just a quick note, this webinar is intended for KINRA, pharmaceutical distribution, specialty pharmaceutical distribution, PharMed, as well as Puerto Rico customers. So before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. First, today's session is being recorded. The presentation itself, as well as the recording, will be made available to our DSCSA resource site by June the 7th. So you'll all have access to both the deck and the recording by the 7th. We have muted all participants. There's a lot of folks on the call today, and in order to reduce distractions and really provide a better webinar experience, we have muted everyone. But we do have the capability of the Q&A button, and that is located at the bottom middle of your screen. You can ask questions throughout the webinar. We have a team of moderators who have joined the call today to help us answer questions throughout the presentation. So feel free to type in any questions that you have. And then we will also have time to answer questions at the end. If you should have any questions after the presentation has ended, please feel free to send those to dscsainfo@cardinalhealth.com. All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our expert, Hillary Brooks. Hillary is a manager within account management and has been with Cardinal Health for 13 and a half years. She is supporting our customer efforts for DSCSA as it relates to our web portal and our e-commerce platforms. So I'd like to welcome Hillary. Thank you for being here, and I will hand over the virtual stage to you now.
Well, thanks, Karen. And thanks to everyone who joined. Good afternoon or good morning for some of our friends here on the West Coast. So appreciate the time today. We're going to go through a few slides that I will also cover in the live demo. We'll spend the majority of the time actually in the system, looking around, doing a lot of clicking so that you can familiarize yourself with what those screens look like and be set up for success. So just to touch on the changes. So our web portal, for those who joined us a few months ago for our serialized version of this webinar, we talked about the new reporting that would be out there for our customers and our customer-facing teams to utilize that captured and reported those serialized transaction data. This is going to look very similar to you all, and this is specific, again, to that lot-based. This report will be going live within the next several weeks. We will be absolutely sure to communicate that ahead of time and make sure that all of our partners are aware of that go-live date of when the current lot-based report will then transition to the new system. So again, we'll touch on those pieces as we move through the demo. So again, you all can see what to expect. I won't spend forever on these slides so that we can spend more time looking in the actual system. But in terms of where you're going to find this report, It will be in either your e-commerce platform. So if you are an Order Express user or Specialty Online or one of those, under the Reports tab, it is the Track and Trace report. Again, that is the lot-based report. And then directly underneath, you'll find the Track and Trace Serialized Products report that will contain the serialized data. All right, we'll go to the next slide here. And there are some new features with our changes to the reporting system that the lot-based report is moving to. Those include additional search and filter criteria, the ability to produce quicker results than what is done today, and also from a layout and formatting standpoint, upon exporting, how that will benefit you all as well. And we'll go through each of those here in a little bit more detail in these next slides. All right, for the first two, so the screenshot that's on the right-hand side is from the system that is called Looker. This is what it is going to appear as when this goes live. Again, if you were to press that Track and Trace button today to go to the existing lot-based report, it will not be this version yet until we go live. There are additional criteria that you all can utilize to ultimately find the data that you need faster. And really that was based upon customer and customer facing team feedback to get to that information quicker. So one of those, for example, is purchase order number. That's not in the existing lot-based report today as a criteria, but we have included that, as well as lot number that you would be able to utilize and search directly to pull up that specific invoice that you're looking for. Okay, and from a layout standpoint and exporting, so just like the existing lot-based report today, you can of course download that data. It will go to Excel. We have some different versions and we'll do it in the actual demo where you can see what it's going to look like from different screens. But from an ease of use standpoint, if any of you work with the existing lot-based report today and you export to Excel, you have some merged cells, you have some added rows that are in there. This is a more simplified export. And so when you receive that Excel spreadsheet, it won't contain any of those extra rows, merged cells, et cetera, so that if you need to perform any functions on that data, it's clean, ready to go, and should be, again, a faster experience for you. All right, so we are going to transition here. Karen is going to stop sharing the slides and I will start sharing my screen so we can walk through what this all looks like here. All right, so we are going to start at the beginning where we were in the slides, and again, showcase where you all can find these links for these reports. I am in Order Express on the retail platform, but regardless of which platform you utilize or e-commerce system, you're going to find it in a similar place. So here under the reports button at the top, on the left-hand side, you are going to see two different options. The lot-based is going to be the Track and Trace report. And then of course, the serialized version is the one that's underneath. Again, if you click on this one today, it's going to take you to that existing report. Once we go live, however, once you click on Track and Trace report, you are going to enter the new portal, which looks like this. Now, I'm going to have to do a couple of additional functions here because I am in a dev environment. This is not actually production, again, since we are not live. But once you enter into the web portal, you are going to enter in from whatever ship to account you have already selected within the Order Express or e-commerce platform. So you won't need to choose that here. And something else that you'll notice that is different than the existing. So the existing lot-based report, when you open it, it'll generate a list of invoices for that current month. So of course, we're at the 29th of May, and so it can take a fairly long amount of time in order to get all of those invoices generated. If we're at the beginning of the month, it could be very simplistic because there may only be a few. With our new report, it is always going to default to show you the invoices in the last 7 days. Now, all of these criteria here, and we'll go through some of them, but all of these criteria are configurable. And so we are going to make a few selections here. I am going to show you all from an invoice date standpoint, the prior 30 days, but you also have the option if you wanted to look at the past 1 week or 1 month, for example, you can make those selections. Once you select any of these criteria or change any of the filters, you will see this upper right-hand update button turn blue. In order for any of these changes to take, you must select the update button. It will take just a moment. And then this will generate the list of invoices below for that time period. So again, in this example, in the last 30 days. Once that is done, then we are going to select a ship to. Again, that is not a step that you will have to do when this goes live because you'll already be in that ship to you selected within your e-commerce platform. Or if you don't use an e-commerce platform and you go through the web portal via a URL link, then you will have already selected the ship to. So for the purposes of this demo, we are going to use a Cardinal Health account. It's going to take a moment to find it, and then we'll be able to select it and hit the update button for this to take. You will see here at the top that these are all of the selection criteria that you can utilize. So things like invoice number, SIN/item number, NDC, these were existing criteria that are in the lot-based reporting today. And then you have our enhancements that we've made with being able to search by specific lot number, purchase order number, tote ID. So one call out here is to make sure that if you are using other criteria to search by, just make sure that whatever you're looking for and that invoice date range still makes sense. So if you know that you placed this PO 3 months ago, for example, and you're trying to find it, you would also have to update your invoice date range or no results are going to return. So this is what it'll look like then when you log in. You are going to have your ship to already in here. You're going to have a list of invoices that are below that you can choose from. One other feature that exists in the current lot-based report that we've brought over is your view report by. And these 3 radio buttons are here. It will default to that ship to, again, whatever you had previously selected in your e-commerce platform, but you can also toggle to these other options. You can also select bill to or DEA number. So I can't show you that functionality within this account today, but what DEA number is going to get you if you were to select it and hit that update button is if your pharmacy acts as a contract pharmacy in the 340B space, it will also show you those ship to accounts for which you've received product. So those invoices, you'll see that down here below. And you would see multiple accounts. So, this one ending in 0059 would be here. You would see those additional ship tos with the 340B designation as the suffix as well. So if you were looking for any of those in order to find product or find an invoice, I should say. All right, so I've already pulled an invoice here that'll serve as a good example. So I am going to type that in, but certainly you could also just select from the list below if you know which one that you are looking for specifically. And it will just take a moment to find. And then once it grabs this, we'll go through the parts that are in here. Again, this does look a little bit different than that existing lot-based report before. So I'll say this a few times during this demo, but what's going to be really important, and I think to help from a comfortability standpoint, and in order to really familiarize yourself with how the data is laid out, how the navigation works with the different search criteria, or what options you may need to select to get to the data you need, that you are able to practice now. You can go through your e-commerce platform or the URL if you access it that way, and go into the track and traced serialized products report. So although the data is different, meaning, it has serialized data and this one is for lot based, it will look very, very similar. There are very similar search criteria. You execute changes the same way. You look at invoices and can drill down in the same manner. So that all can be done now since that report is live. And I would encourage folks to go in there and practice, because in a few weeks, this will become how you all will get your lot-based data if you go to the portal today. So I made these selections with the invoice, the date range, the ship to, and it brings up the invoice number. So once you click on it, you are able to drill down. And from here, it will bring up your lot-based detail for that specific invoice. So you're going to use that first landing page, really, if you are looking for that invoice specific detail. You want to see everything on a particular invoice. You're looking at a specific purchase order that you submitted, and it is going to populate this way. So this looks very similar to what it does today, minus the font being a little bit different. It still looks very, very similar, but you're going to have the same components that are in the existing lot-based report today, and that includes transaction information, transaction history, and the transaction statement. You get that with the seller's address, buyer sold to, and buyer shipped to. This middle section with your transaction information, with your invoice date, the particular account number, and when that product was shipped. And then down below are the meat and potatoes of what you all will be searching for or be able to see within this view. Again, this is all the same information that is out there today with your item information, your previous seller name and address, of course, the lot and expiration date, the number that was shipped, and then your previous information if it exists. Finally, at the bottom, you'll see the transaction statement that matches what it looks like currently and explains a little bit further the details around the asterisks. Just like in the serialized version, if the way this opens up is scrunched or it's not very pleasing to the eye, here it looks good, but if you wanted to auto size all of these columns, you can click on any of the column headers, the 3 vertical buttons, go to auto size all columns, and it will do so below, and you can see it this way. Again, same information, it just takes out that spacing. So if we wanted to download this information and look at it in a downloadable PDF type format, and we're just going to do that for this one, these 3 vertical buttons at the top are going to be the way that you do this. And I should have specified this before we even really started diving into it. There is an existing transaction user guide that customers and customer-facing teams can utilize to help walk through these reports. We are in the final stages of having that updated and available for everyone's use, and that will include instructions for both the lot-based as well as the serialized, and what all of the components of the reports mean, how you download, how you access things. So it will cover all of those pieces and again, be available to you all very, very soon. So no one has to remember all of these points or commit this to memory. So these 3 vertical buttons here, if we go to download, then it is going to default to PDF and fit page to dashboard. Once you hit download, and I'm going to bring up an example I have already brought up, it's going to look like this. Again, this is that PDF version. If you were looking for the specific format, that looks just like the screen did in terms of having all of your transaction information, the transaction history, and finally that transaction statement here. It does take a moment to run, so I wanted to just pre-populate one so that you could see it a little bit faster here, but that is how you would do it from this screen. If you were done with this particular report and you wanted to go back and look at, make some additional criteria selections or find a different invoice, you simply will just hit the back button. And it's going to keep the criteria that I had selected here. But of course, if I change any of that and hit update, then it will again show us below the list of invoices for that particular invoice date range that we had already selected. In addition to this, you don't have to make selections for anything or for each of these. If you knew what you were looking for, perhaps you wanted to pull up a particular item number again, or look at a specific PO, you can make any of those criteria selections, execute the change, and then make that selection by simply clicking on it. I would recommend that this screen really is if you are looking for that invoice specific information where you wanted to see, for example, on a particular lot number, what invoices you all had been shipped, and you wanted to be able to drill into those a little bit deeper. The next screen we're going to go to is going to show you a different view, and that is going to be this big red button here that says View DSCSA Transaction Line Details. The current state in the existing lot-based report, it is a radio button. It will now change to this large red button here. So we will select this one, and I'll show you how this looks different. You'll maintain the same search criteria options at the top. This will not happen to you again in production, but since I am in a dev environment, I would have to select that ship to once again. And I'm also going to change my invoice date range here just so we can see some additional data populating. I'll execute those changes, but again, you can make whatever selections you want to see. What this view is going to show is if you wanted to see, we'll give an example. You wanted to see everything that you have been shipped in the last 30 days for a particular NDC, and you want to see all the lots and expirations. You want to gather all of the data that you can. Or perhaps I want to see, for this lot number in the last 1 month, what invoices was I shipped product on, how many times was I shipped, for what quantities. So you could use this screen to help showcase that information. Now, this is where it is going to be a little bit different here from a download standpoint. So we'll go over that here in a moment. You can do the same thing on any of these column headers with the auto size all columns option. And here you're going to see the same types of data. You're going to have that item information data. You're going to see your buyer information, the seller information, lot and expiration, how many containers, and the invoice and that information as well. The dates, when it was shipped, when it was invoiced, previous seller name and address, and the same information that you would expect to see. So from a download standpoint, where this differs is you're not going to want to download it up here. This is going to give you that Excel version so that you can perform whatever functions, lookups, etc., comparisons that you all are looking to do. In order to do that, you are going to download it from down here, those three vertical dots. We're going to go to download data. And here's where you can select if you want it to be Excel. So we'll do an Excel spreadsheet for this version, but you may have a use for a CSV or some other type. So we'll go ahead and download that and pull this up and show you what that looks like. Okay. Now, I do have to caution that not all of this data, again, we are not in a production environment, so you are going to see some blanks in here. Once we go live and we're in production, of course, that will not be the case. We would expect all of this to be filled out as it is today. But this is because we're still testing these things and making the final corrections and enhancements that we need them to go live. So this is where I was mentioning earlier, it's going to look cleaner than what it does today if you utilize that report, and no extra columns, no merged cells, no blanks that have to be removed. But if you need to make any comparisons, that certainly can be done. This is that version that looks like this, that's not as, PDF pretty. You probably would not be downloading this type of information necessarily to PDF. This would be more of that Excel view where then you can do further analysis as needed. Every line will contain that transaction statement then at the very end. All right, I am going to pause for a moment and see, Karen, if there are any questions that are related to the portal that it may be helpful to bring up or answer for the group while I have the demo screens open.
Yeah, Hillary, we have one. Hector shared that for Puerto Rico customers, the reports tab on Order Express is not enabled. So they will access via a link that is on the left side menu. So just for anyone who's a Puerto Rico customer, you wouldn't go in through the reports tab. You just look for a link on the left, track and trace report.
Thank you for clarifying.
Of course.
Yeah, and if there are any questions, just like at the beginning of the presentation, DSCSA info@cardinalhealth.com can always be emailed. And again, the beauty of already being live with the serialized products version is that really the ability to go in, play around, there's nothing that can be broken, is highly encouraged. And again, that's for purposes of, getting familiar with selecting criteria, drilling into invoices, going into the line details, and seeing how this version may help you and give you different information or perhaps additional information that a specific invoice may not, just depending on what that need looks like. But we're hopeful that with these additional search filter criteria options, that again, it's easier and faster for you to get to the information that you need, trying to think through the voice of the customer and make sure that we have captured as many of those as we can so that you can get your compliance data faster.
And Hillary, we did have another question, and this question is for specialty online. So how does this work for specialty online users?
To my understanding, it will work the same way and the same type of information would be there. Now, if you are, it may look different if you have specialty only accounts versus If you have a pass-through account where you order specialty products, but that is done through your main account within pharmaceutical distribution, then that answer could differ. But if you use specialty online today, you will access the link, which will then take you to these exact same screens where you will see the exact same information.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a demo standpoint, this is what we wanted to share with you all today. Again, a couple reminders that the transaction user guide, and I have pulled up the existing one that will quickly become outdated here. So this is what is being updated as an SOP of sorts for everyone to utilize. This will be done really soon, and we'll make sure to communicate that out so that everyone has access. And that will, of course, cover both the lot-based report as well as the serialized products report. And you will have all that information at your fingertips. And then we will also communicate in advance when we have our final go live date for the lot-based reporting. And once we know that date, then that is when you all can expect your track and trace report link to then take you to the new Looker report instead of where it navigates you today. All right, Karen, I will stop sharing.
All right, I will go ahead and share my screen again. And we can leave it open for questions for another minute. If anyone has a last minute question they want to ask Hillary about the lot-based reporting, please feel free to enter it in. We'll just give you another minute or two to see if anyone has anything before we wrap up.
So Hillary, there is a question out here about what to do if the shipment you're trying to locate is not on the portal.
So that is where, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Mary Ann. So I believe the question specifically is on the serialization information. And during the stabilization period, there will be gaps in the serialized data. And so the FDA has indicated that you should rely on your lot-based reports for compliance purposes. We are trying to get the serialized data as complete as possible, but it will take some time before you can rely on that data completely.
Great, thank you, Mary Ann. We had another question. Somebody asked if they can access this for training. And we will have this presentation, the deck, that also has some additional slides that you can walk through. The slides that Hillary shared during her demo. Some of those are included in the deck as well. So the deck and the recording of this will be available on the DSCSA Resource Center by June the 7th. All right, so I'm trying to see if there's any other questions that have come in.
Yeah, there's a good question out there, Karen. How long is expected to take to be able to see these reports after drugs are received in the pharmacy?
That's a great question. Hillary, Mary Ann, can answer that one for us?
Sure, I'll jump in. So your data, your lot-based data should be available when your shipment arrives at your location. We are posting that information every hour. So, you should have it available to you when you receive product.
Marianne, maybe this is for you. There's a question for Tracy Feng saying, I apologize if I mispronounced the name, is Do we have an anticipated date when serialized data will be fully available from Cardinal?
So the short answer is by November of this year. So we are in the process of receiving data from our manufacturers, and that's a requirement for us to be able to pass along serialized data to our downstream partners. So as we get complete and accurate data, we will be passing that on. But certainly as we approach the November deadline, you will see accurate and complete data at that point in time.
We had another question come in. Where is the DSCSA Resource Center located online? And so I will share this real quick, the available resources. So you can use the QR code to get directly to the DSCSA Resource Center. You can also go to the Cardinal Health Pharmaceutical Tracing website, and from there, you will see a DSCSA Resource Center link that will take you right there. And like I said, this presentation and the recording will be loaded into that site by June the 7th. But there's also a lot of other really great DSCSA resources out there. If you haven't seen that site, I would urge you to go out and check it out and see what's out there. All right, any other questions?
There's a question, will we be able to see drop ship orders information in the portal?
Right, I can take that one. This is Mary Ann. So no, you won't see drop shipment information in the portal. You don't see it currently because manufacturers will provide the drop shipment information directly to the customer, and that's so you are able to use the product as soon as you receive it. Typically in a drop shipment situation, you're not invoiced until after the fact. And so by manufacturers providing that you access to it, you can use the product right away. And usually on the packing slip that you receive that product, there are instructions on where to go on the manufacturer's portal to access that information.
There's a question we're going to have to play telephone on from Anna Barros. She says, will this start in Puerto Rico on the same date? So the DSCSA requirements start across the entire United States and territories on that date in November. I know Hector from our Puerto Rico site's on this. Hector, do you have an estimated start date when folks will be able to see this reporting that we can share with Anna for her and your other Puerto Rico customers? You can drop it in chat. I can play telephone. Got it. So, Hector's working on validating the date with their IT team. So we'll put that in an FAQ of some sort or some sort of message that we share with the presentation that has that Puerto Rico specific information if that's okay.
All right, I think that is all of our questions. Did I miss anything, Hillary, Don, or Marianne?
Maybe a preview, and I don't know if we have a date yet, but there's a question about returning overstocks. If I recall right, we have a future webinar about returns. Do we have an approximate date for that people can look forward to?
This is Mary Ann. I don't have the date for the webinar, but generally I can say that there will be a change coming to the return process in that when you are seeking an MRA, you would need to provide the serial number that you want to return because we have an obligation to make sure that the serial number being returned is from the party that we sold it to. And so that will be incorporated into the MRA request. But as Don said, there will be more communication coming out and an outline of exactly how that process will look as we get closer to November.
So we had another quick question come in. How and where can we practice with the platform? So right now, as Hillary mentioned earlier, you can practice using the track and trace serialized reports. The layout is the same. So you can go in there and pull reports, see how it works, so that when we go live with this over the next couple of weeks, you will already understand how the platform works, how it operates, and what type of filter criteria you're going to use and so forth. So right now it's utilizing the existing serialized, and then also we will have a user guide that will be updated that will help walk you through the process as well. Okay,
Unless you
I
have any other
don't.
questions.
Yeah, I think we don't have any further questions. So at this point, like I said, on your screen, you should still see the available resources. If you have questions, please feel free to send them to dscsainfo@cardinalhealth.com. And we have a team of folks that will help to answer those and get back to you. Thank you so much for being on here with us today. Thank you, Hillary. You did a great job with sharing your demo. And we just appreciate you all being here this afternoon. Have a good rest of your day.